Good evening and welcome to the Board of Mayor and Alderman Budget Workshop. It is April 22nd, 2025, and it is 5:39 p.m. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Miss Danielle.
Good evening. You received a folder. And we'll start, would you like to start with the nonprofit listing? Read this page right here with the page on it. I went through the previous listing of nonprofits that was provided and kind of thinned it out to what looked like actual nonprofits. So this is what's remaining. So if there's, I think, if you want to go through each one and say yes or no or the amount? No? No? Okay, no. Are there any questions on that?
Can we talk about?
You can talk about them, but you can't say yes or no. That has to be sent to me and Danielle to adjust accordingly for
So
next
just need to email you and Danielle and be
Correct.
done with it.
As far as what changes you would like to make. You cannot deliberate towards a decision at this meeting.
I do have one question, Danielle. I thought we had Tennessee Public Safety Network, and I see we've got Tennessee Association of Police Chiefs. I thought it was switched. The Police Chiefs Association didn't request funding, and the safety group did.
They did not. I went back and looked, and it was actually the Association of Chief of Police that we had paid.
Okay.
And it was a donation, the way it was written.
Okay.
So I have reached out to Chief to see about that for this year.
Ronnie, why are you leaning back? You're chief too?
I'm getting out of the way.
Yeah, I got questions, but I don't know what all I can say.
You can talk, you can ask questions, we just can't deliberate towards a decision. So you can ask your questions and have discussion.
Can I ask about these specific amounts?
Mm-hmm.
And the other ones, I can, and what I would like to suggest for specific amounts?
That probably ought to be more in an email to me
Okay.
and Danielle, as far as what you want it to be.
Okay. So your email, everybody got the same email, so we can talk about what Phyllis's idea was, correct?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I don't know an email
I got
about
one.
Phyllis.
Yeah, Danielle sent an email.
Yes.
I got it too, yeah.
And I'd spoken with Phyllis, and she normally just went with what was given the previous year, what they received the previous year.
Y'all didn't get that email?
I did.
Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't privileged here for some reason. So, the one, Meals on Wheels, last year was 7,500, this year 11,750, so.
I can help clarify that because I did call over to them and spoke with Jane. What they did was they took their dues, because if you notice we have a line item for dues, and they rolled it in with their Meals on Wheels. So it's a combined amount. Because I was wanting to make sure we weren't going to get hit with a budget request after the budget passes of them saying, oh, well, you've got dues as well.
So that 11,750, that's a legit number?
Yes, it's both the funding for Meals on Wheels and our dues.
Okay.
I had a question about the Industrial Development Board, the $10,000. I know Bruce and I had a discussion earlier this month about that's typically, has been given for administrative costs. But I guess Tom's here to answer any questions, or I guess Mr. Alderman Coates might be able to answer, but do we still need that $10,000 after we had 6.5 million? Come on with it, yeah.
I believe the 6.5 was already spent.
My recommendation, if you call it that, would be yes for right now. I understand completely. You gave 6.5 million, that has been, obviously turned into a purchase. And there is a contract for 9.35 million, but that's not final. So what if that deal would fall through and then they're not having funding for the year? I
Okay.
totally agree with you. If that money's there, they do not need that $10,000.
Okay, yeah,
So that's answered.
yeah, thank you.
Bless you.
There's something that's stuck in my head, and I think you're the one that made the comment about this being such a tight budget year that we need to watch every penny as much as we can. So I get your question.
Any other questions on nonprofits? Comments? Okay.
And I apologize, I missed this. With the club knockout, what was the reason for the increased request?
There was a typo. They said at the last meeting, it's not 38,000. Last year they'd gotten 25,000. This year they were requesting 25,000. They had listed 38 as their total amount for their lease. And they, Robert clarified at the meeting, they were not requesting 38. They were requesting 25, the same as last year. You can, and the video of that's on our YouTube. You can see him profusely sweating through that conversation.
Profusely.
All right, the next packet we'll go through is the one that's labeled the City of Laverne Budget for Funds 121 through 322. At the last workshop, we went through these briefly. Excuse me. The 121 State Street Aid Fund, you'll see that the electronic version has a hyperlink. I've hyperlinked these to the capital request spreadsheets, so I can send those to you so that you can just click on it and it'll take you to Bruce's and Kyle's spreadsheets. So you see that's the $29,000 for the guardrail. Your next fund is the 122 Senior Citizen Fund. And that's page 2 of 12. And so that's your revenues. Page 3 shows your expenditures. Then your change in fund balance. And the increase in the contract is reflected in the expenditures and the transfer.
Since we did 50 forward, we don't see what they get in grants or anything anymore, do we?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
From the county or from GNRC or any of that stuff, right?
David, was this going from 4 days a week to 5 days? You mentioned that at the previous workshop.
We go back through that email and see, I'm pretty sure it's stated there, and I think you might have gotten that night also. So it may take me a second to find it, I apologize. But I know that was their plan originally when they took over. So that is some of their expense. I think some of their expense also went up, if I remember correctly, they had some IT charges that went up, some house cleaning charges that went up, providing more meals.
That was definitely in the conversation about 3 and then 4 and then ultimately 5. It was definitely in the conversation, but now I don't know about what David's email says.
I am not, I believe they do plan to go to 5 days, if I'm reading that right. 2026 additional 5th day for first year startup expenses not required, so I assume they're going to 5 days.
David, can you reach out to them and confirm, and then just shoot us a blind copy email to the board letting us know?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. The next fund is your drug fund, 123. Really nothing that changed in that fund. Fund 126 is your equitable sharing fund. And you'll see that there are the 3 items off the capital that are hyperlinked to this equitable sharing. Your 127 is your stormwater. And that continues over onto page 7. And it looks like page is blank.
And this year, we are going to code better on ditch services.
Hope it'll say ditch services on my cheat sheet next year, too.
You'll see that the Object Code 944 is a carryover from the current fiscal year.
Under what?
944
Object
transportation
Code on
equipment.
page 8 of 12. Your next fund is 311, which is streets capital projects. Under revenue, it does include the bond proceeds of $25 million, a transfer in from the general fund of $2 million to cover the debt payment. And you'll see under expenditures, the bond payment of $1.875 million. You have the Blair Road West to Carruthers, hyperlinked to the capital spreadsheet. Also the South Waldron widening. And then the advanced traffic management system. And the remaining funds are for the next fiscal year of that bond proceed. Next is 313 Parks. You'll see under expenditures, I have the Brookside Park Playground and the football field LED lights hyperlinked.
What did we decide which one was the most important? What we talked about it, I done forgot.
Brookside Park Playground, number 1. Out of those two, the football field lights and Brookside Park Playground, because that was part of our initial plan when we proposed the park. So we wanted to put the equipment into next year's budget to go ahead and finish that up. And the only thing we'll be lacking then is the pavilion. And then we'll try to hit y'all with that the following year.
The next fund is 321, your police impact fund. And the 2 items from the capital requests are also hyperlinked under your expenditures. And then the final fund is your Fund 322, your fire impact fund. And there's one carryover of the PPE equipment. Are there any questions? Next, we'll go through the one that's labeled your 413 Water Sewer Fund. All right. And I can send you the copy that is hyperlinked. It's just red right now. It kind of went crazy when I went to go do it. The first page is your revenue. This does include the rate increases for water and sewer. The case 2 was the one that was used for, that was done by MTS, the study. And so these rates do factor in a bond payment, so approximately $20 million for the projects. You'll see on page 2 of 9, you'll have your total revenue, and then under that I put the total expenses for your net income. And so you'll see that that net income is approximately $4 million, but that is to cover the bond payment, which I think Bruce and Kyle will talk about later with the projects. Page 3 is your water treatment plant expenses. So there's 3 items on there from the capital listing that's over in red. Page 4 and page 5 of 9 are your sewer maintenance expenses. And you have the one expense that is in red for $300,000.
What? No, never mind.
It's on page 4 of 9. And so when you're going through the capital, it'll coincide with the funds on there. Page 6 and 7 are your water maintenance plan expenses. And actually, the object code 320 on page 7 of 9, that is to replace the meters for $535,000.
Michael, is that just a set grouping of meters, or is there a specific target, like the industrial area, commercial zones, just neighborhoods, or is it just as they come up?
Yes, sir. It's mainly residential meters. As the transponders have failed, if you remember way back when, we bought a bunch of used meters when we did our overall swap out of the entire city and went to AMR meters. We've done this the last 2 years, so this is year 3 of the plan. We've got about 2,000 or so left to swap out. Once we get those swapped out, all meters in the system will be under 10 years of age. So, and they have a 20-year life expectancy, so it's just getting ahead of the curve and saving money versus paying for it down the road.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
On object code 320, the 535, is that just, we're missing the different font or a different size or comma?
It's hyperlinked, so it didn't print.
Yeah, that's where she was talking about the Excel, kind of went wonky.
Yeah. But I can email you the electronic copy so you can just click on those. The last fund is the 110 fund, and there were so many pages that they're still printing for the expenditures. So I think she was able to print, Dolly was able to print the revenue pages for you. And then there's one sheet that has the total revenue and then the total expenditures. And it's just a sheet that looks like this. The 110 fund does include the capital expenditures on the report that Bruce will go through, and those are hyperlinked. So you'll see there's a deficit of approximately $2.5 million expenditures over revenue for the 110 fund, once you put all the capital in there.
You didn't find the money tree? Steve, you're supposed to tell her where it was at.
What is it?
The money tree.
Yeah, I know, right? What was the figures last year? Is that on here, or am I?
No, sir. You have your revenue,
Uh-huh.
and then your expenditures. It was $35 million in revenue. 14 million came from your fund balance.
Is that running along pretty close, Bruce? Or is it getting lopsided pretty quick with the economy?
Well, like every other business, every other home budget in the country, costs keep going up. So, it does take more money to operate every year. The revenues fortunately do continue to increase to some extent, with sales taxes and things like that. So we have been fortunate in some ways, but eventually at some point we've got to look at that and see what we need to do with property taxes and whatnot. We are not proposing any kind of increase at this time. But at some point, we may have to consider that.
Does some of the retail that we've brought in and is coming in, does it offset like Bridgestone and Saks closing and moving out, or is it?
Well, Bridgestone, we did not get any sales tax from that I'm aware of, so that was all property tax. The property is still there, so we should still get property tax from that. What will hurt us on Bridgestone is the personal property tax once they close. So we will not get the personal property tax, more than likely, once Bridgestone leaves. Saks, I'm not sure what we got from them as far as sales tax revenues, but that could affect us. But I don't know how much. And of course, with the new stores and things that are coming in, obviously that'll help us. But there again, we don't know to what extent at this point because they're brand new.
And then something that will help us, but this won't kick in until next fiscal year, not this upcoming one, but the one after, is we all met with our state delegation, and the Boyd Center basically has population numbers growing. So instead of paying to do special censuses every few years, the state is going to start pulling those numbers automatically from the Boyd Center and adjusting the state shared revenue every year.
Where?
The Boyd Center up in UT. So that will adjust the state shared revenue that we get, as well as all the other municipalities throughout Tennessee. So that will be a big gain for us. I believe I just saw Murfreesboro suspended their census as a direct result of it. So,
When do we actually get money for the census, for the people?
Well, we suspended our census as well, so we did not submit any additional numbers to the state because we did not meet what we already had.
Oh, we suspended it? Why did I not know that?
We did that quite a while ago.
So, Mr. Broker, I know you got something to say. Huh? Because that's your expertise.
Because the question you asked, first of all, to the mayor, when do we get that money? I don't know when the actual state shared revenue comes in, because that's what you get for the census. That's why we would do that. To the mayor's point, okay, so every 10 years, the federal government does a census, and they are able to use certain things like formulas and growth patterns and permitting and so on, which they don't allow us to do. So we had to canvass door to door. We know just from household growth, we know we're sitting somewhere around, for the city, I want to say it was 2.97 per home. We know our households are closing in on 14,000, so we know where we're at. We could not get the community to finish. What we may would get them to do is say, well, I'll tell you my name, Joe Smith, but I have six kids, but I'm not giving you their names. I don't feel comfortable doing that. Murfreesboro, Franklin, many cities have fallen under the same problem. I'm not certain where Smyrna is, but I know they were struggling as well to get these numbers. To the mayor's point, I think once we're able to look at, again, projected growth or households times X amount per home, you'll start seeing those numbers coming, meaning we believe we're really, and we've kind of going back and forth, but I'd say a fair number is anywhere between 42 to 43,000, maybe more. That would have given us additionally, under the state shared revenue of about $170 per person, upwards of $700,000, should we have reached that. We got 98.5% of the residences submitted some form of something back to us over the year and a half that we did it. It just wasn't accurate. Or we were, at the end, we were really struggling. We were pushing, they were going out there. They were tired of people knocking down the door, so they would give one versus it would be a 3,800 square foot home, and they'd say one person lives here. As I pointed out, the average in a home, we know what it was. Heading into that last 2 months, the average we were getting on a card back, meaning people in a home, was right over one. So we knew those numbers weren't accurate. So I hope I've answered that question there. State shared revenue is what we get per person in a population, and once we're allowed to use those formulas every year, that number will go up every year.
So are census a thing of the past?
Should be, if this goes through, right?
We would still
federal
have the
census.
ability to do a census if we wanted to, but if this goes through as we hope it will, we shouldn't have to.
Shouldn't have a need to.
the federal census will still occur, though.
Right.
That's outside of our control.
So, if it goes through, let's say it does,
It's been approved.
yeah. When will, I guess I'm trying to figure out, when we gonna see some money?
So
Well, you
it
see
will-
money every year already.
Right.
It's just the addition, you get more money as the population grows, you'll get more. Steve, right now, as it sits, you get, again, $170 per person. So if we were sitting at 38.5, let's say, and we went up to 39, we would have an additional funding. If this goes through, where the state actually does gives us the number, it will be every year, and we won't have to do anything or spend any money to do a census.
It doesn't go into effect until fiscal year 26, 27, so we won't see the funds until next year's budget. Not the one we're working on, but the one after.
So between that and what Mr. Broker gets us in retail sales and stuff, we'll be all right.
We hope.
I'm not gonna sound, I'm very confident, I'm gonna just leave it at that. We're doing very well, and we hope it continues.
Thank you, sir.
So Bruce, when is an appropriate time for us to talk about tax increase? Because I know nobody wants to talk about it, it's touche, whatever. But, I mean, I'd hate to see us get behind the 8 ball when we're talking dramatic increases versus doing a gradual increase and working to a goal.
I mean, you can talk about it, you just can't deliberate towards a decision at this meeting. But you can talk about the issues and, why you may think it's, I mean, you just kind of already stated, why you think it's important. But you can discuss it, this is information purposes only.
Yeah. I mean, because the mayor has already described what a dramatic increase can do to the community, at least to me personally, talk about the increase years ago. But, I mean, it makes most sense to me to stay ahead of the ball with small increments until we reach a set goal.
Well,
Yeah, you and Kyle certainly been doing, Graham been doing this a lot longer than us. Have you seen this kind of thing happen before as far as being able to kind of see the crystal ball? Or is that just too far-fetched?
I don't know if there is such a thing as a crystal ball anymore with the way the economy is and the unknowns with the federal government right now and tariffs and the market. And, I think there's just too many questions right now to really know exactly where we're headed.
So we don't need to panic yet.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
and remember from our first night, 3 weeks ago, we did mention, as far as numbers, if there was a property tax increase, or it was just for the police station. Was that correct, Bruce?
That sounds right, yes, sir.
That was rough. If I've rounded it up, I believe it was 30 cents roughly on the tax rate.
That was if we did the bond issue for the road projects and the.
Oh, that was both.
station.
Okay.
Steve, to answer your question, you can only deal with what you know today. Things may change, but to anticipate it is tough to anticipate. So just going over the numbers we have here presently, and then.
Yeah, and I certainly understand, but I see where Kara's coming from is if we can get ahead of that and if it comes down to it, let's hope it don't. But it's worth a discussion, as Bruce says, and, a little bit instead of, city went through that one time because they had to.
Sure.
They were in the red and they had to, didn't have any choice.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly don't want to get into that. I know I don't.
I mean, I read an article recently from the town of Nolansville where they were doing like a 5-cent increase for the next 4 years with the goal of reaching 20 cents. But to me, that makes so much more sense and so much more doable for a private citizen versus slapping them with 20 cents in 1 year and pricing them out of their homes. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, but between that and what Bruce talked about before, a couple meetings ago or last meeting about city, there's no way the city can absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
Something's got to be done, so. So I guess we'll think positive.
I'm with Bruce. I'm thinking positive. I mean, it's, we've made adjustments this year, and I think going forward, we'll just look at how things go based on the economy. We don't know what the government's gonna do.
I think hitting on what Graham said, it reminded me of a statement by a former vice president, which is we have known knowns, we have known unknowns, and then we have unknown unknowns. Yep. But it's true if you think about it. There's stuff that's out there we don't even know that's coming that can hit us. There's stuff coming that we don't know the impact, and then there's stuff coming that we do. So that's it stays true out there. So So, but this is, as they say, this is the big table where we've got to make these decisions.
A few weeks ago, when we were talking about the bond issue for the road projects, in estimating $25 million bond issue, that cost is $1.875 million. So if you were to increase property taxes to pay for that bond issue, it would be just over 11 cents. So, and then we also calculated what $68 million would be, which would be your $25 million for the road projects for the next 2 years, plus the police station at 43, and it was the possible tax increase to cover that amount was right at 30 cents. But we're not proposing to do that at this time.
And just to clarify, that 11 cents and that 30 cents is on the rate. That's not for anyone watching at home, that's not the individual increase. That's on the rate, the overall rate.
Mm-hmm.
Which right now, what is our rate, Bruce?
53.63 cents, 53.63 cents. I'll get it right in a minute.
Any more questions on this?
Alderman Coates, you're the only one that didn't say anything about a tax increase, decrease, change. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, with this present year, we've got it set, I would just leave it alone. I think further studies need to be done, certainly on the police station. I think we've done the studying on both roads. I think with what we've got positioned today at the present time, with the knowns we do know, is to leave it as it sits.
What does Papa Bear over there think?
I'm not sure who Papa Bear is. But
Andrew.
He knew who he was talking about.
I have no comment on the issue of raising taxes. Thankfully, that's not an HR issue that I have to handle, so.
Yeah, but you just look like you had something to say.
Absolutely not.
At least
Kyle,
not anymore.
thoughts, questions, concerns?
I mean, right now, if it's budgeted, I mean, you could do either way. You either leave it like it is, or if you wanted to do something small. But the thing, if you do something small, what are we going to use it for this year? It needs to be one-time expenses. We don't need to increase it something small and then do more employees or something like that, because that'll be a recurring cost that you're really not gaining anything, in my opinion. I mean, you'd have the employees, but or stuff, but it really needs to be, if you're going to do incremental, the first few years needs to be purchases like vehicles or stuff like that, in my opinion, as opposed to recurring costs.
A lot to think about.
Ms. Daniel?
And that $2.4 million, that is the $2 million transfer to capital projects on 311 for that first bond payment.
Okay.
That's all I have.
I mean, I like the idea of having something that would pay the bond payment, but I understand how that,
Have a what?
having enough increase to pay for the bond payment. That way you're not taking from the fund balance.
You'd be looking at what, about
I think you said
17, 18 cents?
11 cents, what you said?
the 11 cents to pay for the $25 million bond issue.
From a budgeting standpoint, personally, I think that makes the most sense to me.
Bruce, Kyle, you gonna walk us through capital?
Sure, we can get started on that. This is the sheet with all the different colors on the front, or some different colors on the front. There's not a lot of changes to this. Obviously, you've got the two carryover items that we've previously discussed for the ADA transition plan and the condemnation items for the codes department. The next section is the fund balance items, which there again, that's the $2 million that will be going to the streets capital to pay for the bond issue, because that will come out of general fund. The next section there is existing bond items, which we've previously discussed. You've got the PD expansion into City Hall, which is the City Hall remodel and adding bathrooms. We've scheduled $750,000 for that. Obviously, we don't know the exact cost at this point. And then you've got the next line item, which is the build-out of the vacant area, or the expansion area in the Public Works Community Development Services Facility. And we're estimating $2 million for that. And then the Fire Station 43 remodel, it's $700,000 for that project. Like I said, there's not a lot of changes down through here. If you go down to the police department, about halfway down the page, I've added a line item in there for the new police station. And as you'll see, we've currently pushed that out to the 2030-31 fiscal year to start on the engineering and architecture. I've estimated $3 million on that, and then the next 2 years, you can see the $20 million per year for the construction. Obviously, the reason for that, starting that late, as we've discussed, we've got to finish the South Waldron and Blair West projects before we can do another big project.
Andrew? Not Andrew, sorry, Bruce. I'm looking at Andrew because he's right there. I'm still thinking about that comment, sorry. Just to pause real quick. Chief, do you think first off, if we do the remodels there, the build-out and the City Hall PD expansion, how long are you estimating that would take?
I have to defer to Kyle and probably Gary on the timing of those.
I think basically what you'd be looking at for the PD or this area, we would want to vacate the current personnel first, so you could come in and do the construction here with minimal interference with people being in here. So you're looking at 15 to 18 months from now before that would be the quickest. I think you could vacate this area, but you would still have a couple of staff here, and then you could do the remodel here, which I think you might be looking at 6 months would be the quickest, and a year would be the longest, because you definitely don't want to remodel this to the extent that you're going to have to put in a sprinkler system and everything else. You really just want to do the bathrooms, and probably a few walls, just making sure that this front area, when you walk in, you're confined and you can't just walk around the whole building. You'll have to have public bathrooms up front. And of course, this will be serviced like it is now, the boardroom and the courtroom. So you'd make modifications to that extent, and then they would be able to use the space, and then hopefully it gets them by to the 2030, basically 2033 is what you're looking at before they would open up if this plan goes like it is.
Well, that was going to be my next question for Chief, which is, during that build-out timeframe, can your team hold on in that building? And what would you think, as far as timeframe, you would be able to work in this facility without a problem?
Well, we can make do with what we have right now. We definitely can do that. I think what contributes to that fact is that we do have take-home cars and things of that nature, so most of our officers come with their equipment. Currently we don't have a locker room anymore for male or female officers, but they do come in uniform and they leave in uniform. So it's not ideal, but we can make do. The time frame would be helpful. My vision, and just spitballing after having some discussions here, is I would envision us moving maybe records over to this building, as well as using a significant space over here to be potentially for evidence and other property to hold it. And I think by doing those kind of renovations, they're going to be relatively inexpensive, and but it will give us the space that we need to continue to operate out of the current police department. So we are running out of space when it comes to our evidence and things of that nature. So, but again, these are just my initial thoughts, and I haven't had a chance to really see what areas in this building we're looking at 100%, and then talk to my team and get their input to see what they believe their priorities are. So I would definitely want to have more of a, you know, a consensus moving forward on how we could use the space to the best of our ability.
Okay.
So I'm assuming all of this is contract work, nothing in-house.
It would, I would say the build-out absolutely would have to be bid because of the price point, and probably the renovations here.
I would do both. I don't think, and David, you can answer, our maintenance department is great, but I wouldn't have them doing a full bathroom remodel. That's a little excessive for what we're set up for.
So Chief,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
just planning to look at our budget numbers here with the 2030 date coming around, gives you 4 years. I think if you get with your group and the team and just see what's going to be priority with the potential coming over here, and just see if you can get to that 4-year mark with your present staff and staff you're going to add on, and see what's priority.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I can definitely meet with my command staff and the other division heads to find out what our priorities are going to have to be.
So this is based on doing what we kind of just played around with as far as moving everything over there, correct?
Yes.
Most everything. yeah.
Okay.
Courts
So-
would still be in this building, media would still be in this
Right,
building.
yeah, I understand that, but once water and all the other departments that are planning on moving over there next week, will that open up some space for the police department?
It will open up a little bit. We're going to have to make some internal moves here, and we've not fully fleshed that out yet. But we are looking to move court up front, and then we'll have to look at what other moves we can make, and that has not been totally determined at this point. So I don't know if it would free up a whole lot of space where PD could come over now, but it's something we could certainly look at.
But it would still, even the minimum amount would still help out the police department.
At this point, you'd be looking at, I would say, probably less than 5 offices would be open, because you've got, yes, water billing is moving, but courts, the plan is for courts to move up there, so that for convenience of our residents, they can go from here straight across to pay any court fees. That opens up courts area. We can move the HR personnel that's not already by HR in there. But that still frees up only, you're looking at, 3 or 4 offices total, because it's gonna take more work for a renovation. You don't wanna put, no offense to police or to dispatchers, but you don't wanna put them in there with court, because that would be the largest open area, and that wouldn't be concise, a dispatcher trying to take calls and someone's trying to pay their court fees at the same time. Or a detective working on, a report.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand it all, short-term, long-term, but as you said, in a budget year like this, you might want to, put a small Band-Aid on it instead of a great big one for right now. $2 million is $2 million. I went over there and toured that, man, there is oodles of space over there. Golly. Can you trim all that out and do what you want to do for $2 million?
We won't know till after the architect does his work and makes those determinations, and that'll be an item on the next meeting agenda for you guys to consider to start that process.
One thing, there'll be minimal amount of plumbing unless codes or somebody says otherwise, but you've already got the restrooms and stuff, all those facilities where they will be. So the build-out area will be mainly offices, so it'll be electrical, like we're saying, the framing it out, drywall, carpet, whatever decide to go in there.
I get that part.
So,
Okay.
I don't think you can bid on that one, Steve.
No. Just trying to,
You want to volunteer?
Save us a little money,
let me think,
be a little Band-Aid.
let me think about it. No.
I thought that'd be a good volunteer opportunity.
You could have your helper.
What'd you say?
Let me get my phone book.
Okay.
And just to be clear, what we talked about when this was first brought up, this building will still be designated as City Hall.
This will be City Hall, all city meetings for your committees, your boards, your board of mayor and aldermen will still happen here.
Okay.
Jerry's not going anywhere. And courts will still be in this building.
And not only that, but there is a chance after the police station gets built, whenever that happens, it's theoretically possible that City Hall could move back into City Hall.
City administrative offices.
City admin, HR,
Right.
finance, that's still left up in the air. It's possible. I'm not saying it will, I'm not saying it won't.
So, if which product would be done first, or which one would they be done at the same time?
We would do the build-out of the Public Works facility first, and then we would move people out of this building and do the renovation work here, and then PD would move in here.
So some of the work would occur at the same time, but not what you're thinking. While they're building out the design portion for this building, determine what moves where can be going on. It's just you wouldn't have both construction active at the same time.
Right.
Because you build out one, move everybody out, then go through and start moving all the walls for what's left.
Correct.
Question, Bruce, built in 1983, do we have plans for this building?
We do, yes.
We know where the load-bearing walls are, right?
It's a good start. It's good.
Good.
It is a 40-year-old building, 42-year-old building, so.
Excuse me.
Okay. Any more questions on that part? Bruce, you want to walk us through the rest?
Yes, sir. If you'll continue down to Fire Department, Fire Station 44, we've made some adjustments there for the timing. Obviously, we're talking a lot more money for Fire Station 44 and Fire Station 42. But there again, those can't really start until after we finish the police station. So from a money standpoint, we've pushed those out to do the architect engineering for 2032, 2033, and then construction, the new apparatus, and then personnel for 2033, 34. And then for Fire Station 42, we're looking at the architect engineering for 34, 35, and construction 35, 36. So that's spread out spread there, just financial reasons only. It's possible that if the economy does really well and our revenues do well, that this could be moved up. But this is the plan as of right now.
So let me ask the fun question of Ronnie. So 42 moves over to Bain eventually in Mason. Where does the training center move to?
That is still yet to be determined. A lot of the properties that you and I have spoke about in the past and what we've spoke about with city admin, you know, the cost of that property goes with the economy. And sometimes those properties are well overvalued by the owners. We've had some discussion about some current city-owned property Bruce and I have. The thing that and Chief Mays and I agree on, that it should turn into a public training facility. It won't just be a fire training facility, whatever that is. It's a combination of, you know, what we both do together. And so I think that's a much better use of our funds. It would be really nice if we could find a place, and I know Chief Mays is, I don't want to speak for him, but I think a shooting range would be great too. So if we can find a place that would accommodate all of that.
By all means, speak on my behalf on that.
But I think it's better use of the city's money, and I think it shows a better teamwork within the city agencies to have that. So we just got to shop. We got to know what's available. We got to know what the costs are. I think it would be best used if we use current city property that is owned, but that's not for my decision.
It's always good to plan ahead, but man, by that time, 2030, there ain't no telling what'll be going on.
Well,
Yes, sir. And that's, who knows what the costs are for, and those things. So, you know, we've done real well with sweat equity in our current training facility, and I think we could carry that forward on a new site possibly. And that would reduce the construction costs significantly. So that's things that we have to, number one is to find a property and get an agreement on where we want to do that.
And while in 2033, 2034, you know, the members of this current board may not be up here, it's still good to go ahead and get this plan moving and get things happening. I didn't say staff, I said board members.
I could be retired by then.
No, no. Both chiefs will still be here working actively, along with Bruce. But we've got to have long-term plans, because if we don't make long-term plans and set the vision for the future, essentially future boards are set up for failure.
And I think Ms. Hobbs made that, you know, discovery in our first budget meeting. She said, wow, fire's really killing us. But those 5-year plans that we had in that first line, in reality, was 7 to 10 years out. We just had it crammed into a 5-year Excel spreadsheet for the fire side. So that's the things I'm trying to assist y'all with, knowing what's on the horizon for us. Unfortunately, it's not, you know, buying a Tahoe or a van for somebody. Those fire trucks are expensive. And so we have to be planning for the future for fire trucks and personnel and fire stations.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And currently in the fire department facilities section, we do have the public safety training facility listed in fiscal year 28-29. Now, whether it's going to happen in 28-29, that remains to be seen, but more than likely that'll have to be pushed out a couple of years maybe, but it is in there to do at some point. We just got to figure out how we're going to do it.
And where.
And where.
And to get Chief his indoor shooting range.
If you go to...
Bruce, can we take 5 minutes?
Absolutely.
Okay, calling a recess.